Good morning, still here in Arizona to everybody. But otherwise, it's pretty much good afternoon and evening out in other countries. It's just me, Hetty/Heather. I'm normally from Alive and Me on Twitter, also at Epilepsy Cures. And then, as I've said, I've also opened up just recently a new Twitter, which is called Fill My Void. And I'm doing that also with a friend. And that person, actually I met, on Alive in Me through faith in Jesus. And that's at KT Dog Lover for him. Katie, it's so long. Anyway, but she's a very dear soul, and she is really growing in faith. And honestly, she really fell to her knees through addiction. And honestly, the reason I went running to find Jesus was, well, number one, I was beaten by my ex, and that led to my addiction. And so my addiction, mind you, I had a little girl, a very little girl, and I knew that this isn't the way to live. I mean, I had always been one who had never had an addiction. I grew up in a family that alcohol was something I never got into because it was something that I just looked at, and it was really affecting my family and really affecting my mom's mood and her heart. And I just, I didn't know Jesus back then, but I just swore to whatever God that was something I was never ever going to get into, and I didn't. And I grew up in a party town, Lake Havasu, and I kept my focus on gymnastics, and I kept my focus on basically being my mother's counselor and helping her, in which that will teach you here that you do not tell your children the amount that I was told. It was great to be able to be there for her, and, honestly today, now that I've gotten through it, there are no regrets. But getting past that, not realizing it was something that would affect me later, and it did, wow. But the amazing thing is that God turns all those things into amazing, just plans that He turns into for His glory. Because He knows that, you're gonna, He knows His plans already, that you're gonna be seeking Him and such. And, so it's amazing how that works. The plan really and truly wasn't, His plan wouldn't be for me to just run off and go marry, a Marine like that. That's not a God plan, but that's what happened. And anyway, we had a lot of just strife, and it wound up just being breakup, makeup, and just a lot of just issues. But the best part of it all is that we got a beautiful daughter out of it, and just to shorten the whole thing, you can find it on other blogs of mine and such. Adultery was committed, and that was a huge thing that, hurt me as a child from my family. And I couldn't imagine, living in that marriage, and so I left. And so when I came back, for another chance, the marriage just didn't feel right. But then we got pregnant, and my seizures just went skyrocketing. My neurologist back in Alabama put me on a huge dose of phenobarbital that I had always been on my whole life. Never had an addiction. But because on such a huge dose, it introduced my body to basically knowing what numbing is. And so later on, after, going through so many issues with it's my now ex, but then my husband, going through so many issues, and he just wound up having so much hatred basically toward me. After my first brain surgery, 2 months after, I get to where he was stationed, which was Fort Hood, in which I'm praying for everyone there. And I get there, and 4 days there, he beat me. And so that's what led to me having this addiction. And the addiction was to pop all these pills to numb the pain. Now, there's so many addictions, and I wound up finding out that his addiction was child pornography. My current husband back, prior me, had addiction just to pornography with an ex-wife because, she just never had sex with him. My brother today has addiction to every type, and I have a cousin too who also had. My brother is still fighting. Well, he still has addiction to every illegal, drug, and there are legal drugs that he's completely addicted to and will do anything for, and to the amount that's just unbelievable. And how he's still here because my brother lost his spleen, he broke his arm, he's had seizures, which he doesn't have a seizure disorder, and it's just from going so high and then dropping, and it's just, how do you not live and learn? And so when I went through what I went through, it's like I'm so thankful in a sense, because I overdosed and I overdosed and I overdosed, and I had this little girl. Well, I'm thankful I had her. Mind you, my ex and I had that strife, and so he was in Iraq, and, there was no way we were ever going to be together again, and I was a single mom, and I had to find a way to take care of her. And here I am trying to fight the fight, yet have this addiction. And so I had the best doctors in the world at Mayo Hospital, and they placed me with every doctor that you can name, with psychiatrists, psychologists, my neurologist, and we were figuring it out. It did lead to several overdoses that year that put me in the hospital, but one last one that almost took my life. And all that year I had been seeking Jesus. And, even my own parents basically condemned me for it. Like, that's just absolutely just psycho. I don't know why you're doing that. That's just weird. You're basically condemning me for doing that. But I kept going for it. And it brought so much light to my life. I was hearing things. They were saying stuff that made so much sense. And one day I finally spoke to someone at my church and gave them my whole story. I was higher than a kite, but I gave my whole story. And Jesus hears, the Holy Spirit hears and understands every word you say, no matter how high you are. And I can sit here and I can go on about how blasted I was down every street, giving gas here and going to this restaurant there. And I live in the same cities, that all happened. But today I can look back and I can look at it and I can be like, wow, it's amazing, because I am absolutely cured. Before it was really hard, but now today that I've gotten help and I am absolutely cured through help and through Jesus, I can look at it all and I can just smile. My husband and I actually got married on the day that my ex beat me, because we wanted to turn bad into good. And it's just, I went from taking bottles like this of a very strong medication that almost took my life to deciding to go through a third brain surgery instead of ever trying to go back to a medication that I know that would cure my seizures, because I know that I'm addicted to it. And we have to, as anyone who's addicted to something, step away from it. And the best way to do that is, to stay away from it. You should have people that are supportive and that will, be by your side through it all. There is, this one quote from Abraham Lincoln, and it says, "And in the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years." And it's so true. It's about how are we living in our life. And other than that, there's some, a couple amazing books. Total Forgiveness by R.T. Kendall and Will Medicine Stop the Pain by Elias Fitzpatrick. And then other than that, there's this other one that is just absolutely phenomenal. I'll have to probably post it. It's just an amazing one on addictions that I would just love to share with you all. But it's just an amazing one by Edward T. Welch about addictions. So just come my way over to Fill My Void, and I will share that with you. Other than that, I pray that you all have a blessed day.